Hi, everyone. This is Darren with Letting Go Cafe. If you've been trying to figure out what people mean when they say, let it go, you've got to let go of this or that, then tune in. I've got something for you. You hear people talk about letting go. I heard it just the other day. A young lady talking to her girlfriend, and she was like, girl, you need to let that go. Well, and I hear people saying it all the time. Speakers saying, let go and move on. I hear people in general talking about how important it is to let go. And they are right. It is. You do have to learn and develop an art for letting go. But it's a process. It's more than just saying let go, or it's more than just repeating that to yourself, or it's more than just writing it down on a regular basis. It's a process. There's a process. When you say let go, those two simple words, or letting go, those two simple words require a lot. And so let's talk about what is involved with letting go. And I'm just going to talk a little bit about the very first piece in that. The first thing you have to do when you want to let go is to identify specifically what it is that you want to let go. What is going to change? What do you want to shift or transition away from? So that's the first thing, is identifying what that is specifically, not just writing it down, not just saying it over and over again, but you want to identify what are you going to feel like once you have let it go? What's your vision for yourself? What is going to change about you after you've let go? So you have to have that vision in mind. And that's really where you want to focus. Once you've identified what it is that you want to let go, you have to embrace that, accept that, acknowledge that, and then by doing so, all the way down into the heart and soul of your body. Once you've done that, that creates the space for you to latch on to the vision that you've created. In other words, what's going to happen after you let go? What will you look like after you let go? What will life look like after you let go? What kind of person will you be after you let go? Once you have done that, then those two pieces work together. In other words, identifying what you want to let go, creating the vision for what you will look like, feel like, act like, be like after you have let go of whatever it is you've identified. And the space in between your current state and that future state, the space in between is where you do want to begin to talk to yourself about and begin to identify the thought patterns that actually keep you connected to your current state. Do you understand? So you want to keep connected to your future state as much as you can, but you also have to identify what are the thought patterns, what are the things I do, the behaviors that I exhibit that keep me connected to this thing that I want to let go, whatever it is. And how can I detach myself from that and latch on to this future state? That's a first step when you think about letting go. That's really literally the first step, is to embrace and accept where you are currently and have a vision of what it is. So let me give you some examples. If you're interested in losing weight, for example, and you want to shift, let's say you're at 125 pounds and you want to go down to 115 pounds. Just an example. So your current state is what? 125 pounds. Your future state is what? 115 pounds. Now, from the current state to the future state, to get there, you have to identify what are the habits, the thought patterns, the behaviors that you have developed around being 125 pounds. Okay, what are the things that keep you there? And then you have to identify, what will I look like when I get to 115 pounds? If you've ever been 115 pounds, then maybe you have a picture of yourself that you can put up on the wall. If you have ever acted a certain way when you were at 115 pounds, what were the behaviors that you had at that time? That becomes your future state, okay? And now you have to begin, once you've identified those habits and those thoughts and those behaviors that are keeping you at 125, now it's time to begin to shift and change and let go and move away from those habits and move toward the vision you've created. What will your life be like at 115 pounds? What will your attitude be? How will you feel? How will you think? What are the thoughts the new thought patterns that you'll have at 115 pounds? You have to identify all of that, and that's going to help you to make that transition from current to future state. That's just an example. That's a very simplified example. But letting go is a process. Letting go is powerful. Letting go can change your life. And you can apply this to anything, no matter how large or small the situation or scenario or dream is in your life. This is the first step, regardless of what it is that you want to change. That's the first step, is to accept, acknowledge, and in that process, identify what it is you are doing right now that you want to move away from. And I'm talking about in gory detail. You may want to break it down. How do I feel? How do I think? How do I behave? How do I act? And then, what am I moving toward? How do I want to be? What's my future state? How will I act? How will I behave? How will I think when I get to that future state? You have to be clear on that. Those two things. If you can't get those two things clear, if you can't get clear on those two things, then what will happen is you'll end up repeating. You'll have this repetitive cycle. You might lose a little weight, then you'll go back to the current state. You'll lose again, and you go back to the current state. You'll be in this recurring cycle of just trying to accomplish step number one. Now, there are other steps. I've created a 7-step process that will help a person to truly transition and transform themselves. But this is just the first step, and it requires work and dedication and commitment on your part. And who are you committed to? You're committing yourself to you, to your future state, to your life, to your goals, to your dreams. That's who you're committing to. I hope this was helpful. And if you're interested in drilling down even more, I would invite you to visit lettinggocafe.com and click on digital products, and it will take you to workbooks, a journal, the original book that started all this, all under the umbrella of letting go of stuff. Until next time, take care of yourself.